Hello and welcome to The Dialogue. I'm Shivam Thakur and today it's my immense pleasure to introduce none other than the respected Pavan Kumar Varma. Thank you so much, sir, for agreeing to do this interview.
Pleasure is mine.
He has served as an ambassador and he has also worked in United Kingdom, US, London, Bhutan and Moscow. He has written over 21 books and he is also former member of the Parliament of Upper House. Sir, how do you react to Donald Trump's out of the context comments that he makes all the times?
We should see Donald Trump not only from the prism of the internal controversies in which he's embroiled, which of course it's natural for us to react to, but countries see the presidents of other countries, especially the president of a country as powerful as the United States, from the prism of their national self-interest. If Mr. Donald Trump is not that aggressive on HB1B visas, or if, for instance, he is more open on the question of immigration and on free trade, does not set up barriers to trade, and he puts also pressure on Pakistan to stop its support and sponsorship of terrorism, then from my point of view, whatever is internal controversies, how many more women he slept with or not is not relevant. We must see it from our national self-interest.
Sir, how do you see when he says Muslims should be banned in America?
I believe it's retrograde because America is a country of immigrants, and I believe that Muslims need not be demonized or stereotyped. Not all Muslims are terrorists, and I think it's both superficial, amateur and childish policy, if not discriminatory, to try and paint all Muslims under the rubric of a suspicion of terrorism. It's also counterproductive policy. So I'm sure Mr. Trump will realize what he's doing.
Sir, how do you see Indian state benefiting, or how do you see US-India relationship moving ahead? In which direction ever since Mr. Trump has been elected to the office?
No, as I said, we see Mr. Trump and the United States of America under the rubric of our national self-interest. India and the United States have a great deal in common irrespective of who the president is. We are the two largest democracies in the world. We have a vibrant community from India doing exceptionally well with a stake there in America. America is our largest trading partner. We have interests in science and technology and a strategic partnership in defense. So we would like all of these areas to move forward, and I think we should make contact with President Donald Trump immediately at the highest level in order to somewhat dilute his current policy with regard to technical expertise from India, his policy on barriers on trade, and I think motivate him to put the requisite pressure on Pakistan, because it is only the United States which can put that pressure on Pakistan to end its nexus with terrorism.
Sir, Russia and US, we have to talk about both the relationship between Russia and US. Sir, how do you see, in which way the relationship between Russia and US is going? Because Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin seems to be good friends.
No country, our relationship with the United States is in a separate category with our relationship with Russia. With Russia, we have had time-tested relations. Russia is an important partner in defense. We have historical and cultural ties. There is a very strong foundation for that relationship. I don't believe that we should fall into the trap of trying to see our relations with either Russia or the United States within the framework of comparative advantage. Both need to be pursued independently.
Sir, Permanent Court of Arbitration said has negated China's claim over South China Sea, but China says no, it's null and void. How do you?
I think that we should resist China's attempt to arbitrarily claim the South China Sea beyond what is internationally recognized, and do so merely on the ground of its superior military power. I think it's against international law. It's international browbeating, in fact. We should, in fact, contest that claim, and we should ask China, how is it that they have invested so much in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir? South China Sea has not been declared a disputed area, whereas Pakistan-occupied Kashmir has been internationally declared a disputed area. Did China respect our sensitivities there? Why should it expect then that we should be oversensitive in an area which has not been declared disputed, the South China Sea, when it does not display the same degree of reciprocal sensitivity to us?
Sir, Brexit has happened and now Britain is going to be out of the European Union. So what are its impact on the European countries which are part of European Union and its impact on India?
Well, you know, United Kingdom has at one level a separate relationship based on historical fact and circumstance with us. We are one of the largest diasporas in the United Kingdom. It's an important trading partner. There are affinities of history and culture with the United Kingdom as our former colonizing power. We must deal with the fact that the European Union is now going through a period of transition with a great deal of internal pulls and pressure with regard to its earlier unity and solidarity. There is a movement not only in Europe but in America and elsewhere where there is a reassertion of nationalism against internationalism. We have seen Donald Trump displaying that. We saw Brexit. We see what is happening in Portugal and in France and in other countries in Europe. And we must tune and align our foreign policy to accept this.
Sir, now let's come to the domestic issues at home. Sir, there has been a lot of debate and discussion around the process and implementation and execution of demonetization. So what are your views on that?
The party to which I belong to, the JDU, and my leader Mr. Nitish Kumar had initially supported demonetization for its intent to work against black money and corruption. We said that the Prime Minister, if he has this goal in mind, has asked for 50 days, and we'll wait for 50 days before we make an assessment. After 50 days, we made an assessment. And we have asked the Prime Minister and the BJP government to tell us, did they achieve the goal they had set out to achieve? How much black money has actually been unearthed? What further steps are they planning to take if they are serious about eradicating black money and corruption, particularly in the areas of black money in Benami property, in gold and bullion, and black money lying abroad? What are they doing to ameliorate the conditions of those hit by demonetization and the economic dislocation it created? What are they doing about substantive electoral reform, because the nexus between politics and black money is the seed of all corruption in India? We have asked these questions. We have not received replies. And we therefore believe that the current government, apart from the intent they showed exceptionally poor planning to implement this decision and have not answered the nation on the genuine questions of accountability of what this step has achieved.
Sir, there is so much of hue and cry around uniform civil codes implementation in this country, but we all know our country is so diverse. Do you think, is it possible to implement uniform civil code in India?
Well, Article 44, which falls in the directive principles, says that the state shall endeavor to implement a uniform civil code. Why is it in the directive principles and not in the fundamental policy rights? Because the directive principles reflect an ought. This ought to happen, and suggest that it is best done through a process of consultation, discussion, and if possible, by building a consensus around it. We believe that the Uniform Civil Code, if you wish to seriously implement it, must be preceded by an attempt to have consultations within religious denominations, so that there is a substantial move towards change. and it should not be imposed by fiat from above, because that will be counterproductive and it will erode the faith, especially of the minorities, in the freedom of religion which the Constitution guarantees. Besides that, if a uniform civil code has to be implemented, the personal laws of Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, Parsis, Buddhists and Jains will be scrapped. The government must tell us which of those provisions they propose to scrap and what is going to replace them, so that there is an informed debate on this question before we proceed like a bull in a china shop, merely for short-term electoral or political gain or to polarize voters. We have not seen a draft of the UCC, the Uniform Civil Code. It has not been discussed in state legislatures or in parliament. The Law Commission has sent an amateurish questionnaire, which is an objective type questionnaire, which has leading questions, which is not the way to do this. So we believe that the Uniform Civil Code, even when it pursues desirable reform, and many such reforms need to come, which are in conformity with modern notions of equality, equity, gender justice, even if they are necessary, they must be based on a process of consultation, debate, discussion, and if possible, consensus.
So how do you foresee Indian political landscape? Because there is coalition government since 90s. Do you see there will be one-party government?
Well, we have a one-party government now.
I mean, at the
And the irony and the tragedy is that even though we have a government with an absolute majority, its performance in comparison to its promises, the gulf between promise and delivery, continues to be very wide. And that puts a question mark before us. There are coalition governments which have worked better, in fact. But I think that in a democracy where there could be the possibility of coalition governments, we must have the maturity to be able to run governments with a credible leadership and, even more importantly, an agreed program of action which goes beyond merely the leadership and its ego problems, so that you can run a coalition government.
So there's a question, follow-up question coming from the coalition concept. So how do you see non-aligned movement? Has it lost its relevance or is it relevant in today's age and time?
I believe the non-aligned movement represented in its time a truly revolutionary idea. Newly independent countries, led by India, said that we have not become politically independent today, having thrown off the yoke of colonialism, merely to become camp followers of the powerful. And we have a voice and an interest of our own, which we will reflect in international fora and international interaction. I believe the relevance of the non-aligned movement was somewhat diluted after the Cold War, when the very distinct polarities of the international system somewhat got diffused. But I think the ideology behind the non-aligned movement is still important, which is that countries, however weak or less developed they may be, however lacking in military power they may be, still have an opinion and a voice on international issues which needs to be heard.
So how do you perceive India-Pakistan relationship? I know it's a cliche question, but I think it's a very important question. Especially since when the Modi government came in and that Nawaz Sharif being called in India for the swearing-in ceremony.
Pakistan is a neighboring country. You can choose your friends, and that's the cliche. You can choose your friends but not your neighbors. We have to deal with Pakistan. The problem with the Modi government was that the rhetoric of the election period in 2014, the 56-inch chest, then saying that 10 heads if one, all of that seemed to have been completely, in a sense, been lost because of the lack of a clear foreign policy strategic framework. We did not know which way our Pakistan policy is going. Either it was an embrace or it was total hostility. We need clarity. Pakistan pursues against us a clear-headed policy of tactical appeasement or aggressive attack. We seem to dither between both in terms of our response. This needs to end. I believe right now, given Pakistan's open backing of terrorism, right now if we have to resume any sense of normalcy, we must do so by first tackling the issue of Pakistan's sponsorship of terrorism. But let me add, with a neighbor, you cannot merely say that you will not deal with it. We have to deal with Pakistan.
Sir, in which direction or in which way the world is moving? You have Donald Trump being elected as the president of USA, then you have Brexit happening, then you have South China, then again China, Russia, North Korea. In all these terms, in which way do you think the world is moving?
I think the world is currently moving through a cycle which sees a resurgence of nationalism, a questioning of the notions of globalization or the ideology, a questioning or a re-examination and interrogation of free trade, a reversal to the protectionisms of the past in terms of commerce, a multipolarity in terms of power distribution, not just two superpowers but several emerging and established powers. And I think, therefore, India as an emerging superpower needs to keep all these factors into account in devising its foreign policy.
Sir, you're a very well-known person, intelligent and intellectual author also. So my question is, how do you see Indian media?
The Indian media is vibrant. It's one of the largest medias in the world, and we are proud of it because there can be no democracy without a free and independent media. And yet, there are some doubts today because large parts of the media have come under corporate control, and corporates are naturally oversensitive to how the government responds to what the media is saying.
So are you saying commercialization of media industry is a problem? Are you
No
going to pose
media,
that
we have
problem?
never had a media which does not have a commercial aspect. But it's a question of the degree. Today, if one corporate house owns most of the media, there's an obvious conflict of interest between free and independent news and the interests of that corporate house. And all corporate houses are deferential to the government in power, for reasons other than merely the freedom of the media. So therefore, we have to keep that factor in mind. The media is the fourth pillar of democracy, which needs to be strengthened rather than to be intimidated or inhibited.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the interview. We'll be back with another episode of the interview.